All right, but before we start, Lasha is going to do a little talk about orthography and understanding, and then we are going to work on our own Schnees and our own sentences, and then we'll move on a little bit.
Okay, Doha, I had asked Eilish for a few minutes to talk to you today about orthographies or alphabets. Alphabets and orthographies are essentially the same thing. And I noticed that what you're going to, all of you or whoever is coming in, you're going to start using the resources you know. So if you're going to start taking notes, which you will start doing, you know, when you first hear a new word, you will start like using like a pigeon, like say if we said the word hunt, and you're going to be going, maybe something like that, trying to come up with your way to say hunt. You see what I'm saying? And so the reason I wanted to take a few minutes and go over this with you is to kind of get you to get your mind around the writing system straight out. So let me just run through this little short presentation that I put together a year ago. Okay, so definition of orthography. What are structural written conventions? The art of writing words with proper letters according to standard usage. The representation of sounds of a language by written and printed symbols, and a part of the language study that deals with letters and spelling, okay? How your language looks on paper and in written form. So that's your orthography, how your language looks on paper and written form. When you're somewhere in the world and you see a t-shirt from Hawaii, and if it's written in Hawaiian, you can kind of figure out, oh, that's Hawaiian, just kind of the way it looks. And if you see German, you go, oh, that looks like German. You know, and if you see Spanish, you begin to recognize. You may not know what it says, but you can see how it appears. Oh, that's Hawaiian. That's German. You know, that etc. That's Arabic. You know, and so your orthography, which we have your orthography, is real important. Okay, so. A definition of an alphabet. So an orthography was what I said earlier, right? So it's the art of, okay, so how your language looks on paper and in written form, where an alphabet, a set of letters or other characters with which one or more languages are written, especially if arranged in a customary order, usually like A, B, C, D, E. See, it's in order, right? You just went through A, Ba, Sa, Da, Cha, etc. You went through an order, right? A system of signs or signals that serve as equivalents to letters, okay? And so, like when we do these, so this is a letter, this is a group of letters, and then this little piece here tells us, so this is ta, this is, you know, so those little diacritics give us information, okay? So, the state of our languages. Written language is another language in itself, and I really wanted to talk about this a little bit. Written language used by a flourishing speech community, written language used by a survival or heritage language community, which is us. Okay, so, you know, what I wanted to spend a few moments on was talking about, if I'm learning a new word today, gushchu, pelon, naset, you know, navakstechio, okay? Those are brand new words to you, right? And you're learning something about that. And if I come up and I go like this instead, and I go, but if I say to you first, shluk, right? Okay, you're thinking about the word shluk. But I show you this, now your brain has to go, shluk, oh, shluk. So anytime you write a word down, you are speaking a new language. Another type of language. Written language is a language as well as Yurok or Tolowa or Portuguese. It is a language that you have to learn that, okay? And so one way that we can slow you down in learning, in some ways, is to have you write it. The way we can speed you up is just have you say it, hear it, and use it. That's the quickest way. But then when you go, oh, wait a minute, what's that sound in Dee-ni? Let me see. Hush. That's the sound, so Indian. Okay, hush. Okay, so just be aware that when you are learning a language, that's why we don't start out usually straight out with let's learn the alphabet. It's important to understand the sounds, what they look like, but not get hung up on just the alphabet itself. You see what I'm saying? Because it's another language. And our goal here is to get you to hear the language, practice the language, and use the language, and learn some vocabulary by going just now. You know, by going dronje, tela. You see what I'm saying? So it's direct one-to-one information. Or if I go over here and I go say, all right, everybody, write the word dronje, tela, and if you don't know the alphabet, you're going to be going like, you know, whatever, but it looks like this. So dronje, tela. Okay? There it is. Okay? So I'm just trying to share with you that maybe using the alphabet that is designed and used by our language is the quickest way to get to the written format of our language. Okay, so then characters. So I shared these with you because there's also writing conventions that are very old. This is one of the oldest writing systems on Earth. It's over 6,000 years old. It's probably the oldest written language on Earth. Okay? And see how characters all represent, they probably started from shapes originally. Like look at the one there, it says, it looks kind of like a, oh, I don't know.
It's mountain.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, so it represents these things, and then the language puts them together to create sentences. So that's another, so our language could have looked like that, I suppose. Okay? Look at, these are hieroglyphics from the Egyptians. So look at the bird is ah, you know, the bird over here is a oo or you, and so on. Okay? So I'm just sharing with you that there's all kinds of writing systems on Earth. And this is from the Mayan. So all these, look at their A. It looks like some kind of little creature. Look at their K. Look at their P. I think they had too much cocaine down there. I'm joking. No, I'm just joking. But see, there was a writing. Is there writing? Not what it was. There was a writing system. See. And then you've got, look at the Native Americans doing in North America. Petroglyphs, right? Carving out these shapes, telling stories. This here probably is a complete story here. But the people knew what the symbols meant, knew what to say in the language, okay? So petroglyphs. And then linguistic alphabets, this is what linguists, traditionally trained linguists, this is the alphabet that they use. And look at some of the crazy shapes in there. So like we could have said for ch, for Dee-ni, for ch, we could have went that one symbol there, you know, for, I don't know, so just the plain old but. You know, we could have went like this and went, what is it? Whatever. But again, like I shared with you on the first week, is it on here? No. So let's not do that.
Yeah.
Life is already hard enough for our language. Why do something crazy special, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I wanted to show you something too, like anthropological alphabets. So Grover and Waterman. So this is a word of Yurok lists. So what they got to do was come study with the Indians, and they kind of won it and came with their own writing system. So now when we go look at linguistic data from Goddard or from Drucker or from whoever, we have to figure out what their equivalents were to the sounds that we use today. Then we go, oh, then the mystery's over, and then you can start reading the data and start transcribing it into our written system today. So there's a lot of that, some of that floating around out there too. So they just kind of made up their own system a little bit. Okay? And now look at modern native writing systems. So we have Eskimo and Inuktitut. This is way at the top of the world. And check that out. That's how they write stop. Okay? And so they evidently have computers that can do that up there.
I was just going to say, talk about not being able to find the keys on the
font.
keyboard.
Yeah, so they must have a font created by
Yeah.
something for
Some
them.
special.
Yeah, but look at that. Isn't that amazing? Okay. And then the Cherokee syllabary. This was developed by a man named
George Hist, Sequoia.
Sequoia. Yeah, George Hist Sequoia, right? The redwood tree is named after him. Sequoia sempervirens is named after him in his honor. So look at those shapes and letters that we could have been dealing with today, for example. You know, and then the Unifon. This is, I think, one of the original versions of the Unifon, or another version used out in the world before. It's no longer used, but across the East Coast and stuff. But there they are. Okay, and we use some of the, like the backwards N, you know, the cross I, and so forth and so on.
But shouldn't we be learning that too, because it is the original?
Well, we don't need to because we left it. But we can talk about it.
We're still back there. We need to bring it forward.
Well, then that's what that sheet we gave out to transfer it over. That one that.
That's the revision.
Right, the revision. That's correct. Yeah, it's been revised because when we left, what we started with in 68, was it 68, 69? Yeah. And then here's the Yurok version of the same alphabet. And they've abandoned it too a long time ago. They, like I said the other day, the Tolowa were the last to abandon. We hung on to the last. And then here's the Roman alphabet, which is what we use today, and this is what we understand for English writing, and the French can use the German, and they're writing in even Japanese in Roman alphabet now, or Chinese too, is written in Roman alphabet as well. Okay, yeah. And then here's the current Yurok alphabet. My gosh, look at that! Look at those vowels they got. Ow, I, e, uri, so on, so on. Yeah, so they really like the vowels in that language. And you know what alphabet letters missing is it's there. Nickwich, the I, Nickwich. Nickwich is like a grizzly bear, I think, in Europe or something. All right, so there's their alphabet today. That's their current Roman alphabet. See what it looked like before? There it was there, and now the current Yurok alphabet looks like that. See, they left Unifon too a long time. They beat us. They quit. They left before we did. And then orthographic needs. The art of writing words with proper letters according to a standard use, so that you standardize it for the users and the body that's imbibing in it. The representation of sounds of a language by written or printed symbols. So in order for us to come up with the actual sounds in Dee-ni, Tolowa Dee-ni, we did it's called a phonemic. Phono means sound. A phonemic study by just studying big chunks of our vocabulary. And we wanted to make sure if we had a duh, a wah, a guh. And there's a way that they test that. That chart I showed you earlier with all the sounds on it, they run through a series of tests to make sure they don't miss a sound in your language. And so that's called, and we did a phonemic study back in '95 to make sure, because we had extra sounds in Unifon that we didn't need. I guess I don't have a Tolowa version, do I? I missed it. Oh yeah, I was doing, yeah, okay, our Tolowa version. And then part of the language study that deals with letters and spelling. Okay, so standardization of spelling. And so I heard some concerns about, well, what if I don't spell it wrong? We don't care right now if you're not spelling it. You got K loss, and we're good with that. You don't need to know. Eventually we'll learn there's a long vowel. Whatever. So if you did it like that, or if you did it like that, drop it. That's close. You see, but that's okay. But you will learn that with time, and that's not what we're here to punish or to scare off or whatever. Writing conventions are, writing is symbolic, a representation of phonemes, which mean the sounds. Being practical is good, and that's again, show you the keyboard again. And who's your audience, local and academic world, okay? And does English speech and grammar impact the writing, in this case should be Tolowa, because I made this for the Yurok class. And then how does, okay, so then there was a question about how does Yurok, I was really working with them to try to figure out what their problems were with their orthography. They're struggling really hard right now, or have been. So political considerations for writing are a tribal-wide writing convention, a shift from many to one, okay? So you're trying to standardize it for your language. Just like I said, when you see Hawaiian, you recognize it. You see German, you recognize it, right? What loss or cost result from a single writing system? Continuity, and this is what you're talking about, Lou, is that from 1969 to 1995, we used the Unifon, and then we went into the new writing system for the modern world, and that's what that means. Familiarity, how my grandma wrote, in this case, Tolowa. Like Renee said, I'm fine with Unifon, and after I go, then we can move on, And then transliteration. So then we've had to transliterate for all the language now. We've translated from Tolowa Unifon to our current Tolowa Dee-ni alphabet. Okay? So all the data has not been lost. It's just been transferred into a new the current system. What strengths result from one writing system? Continuity, unity, productivity across multiple platforms. Okay. So language goals might be the goal. Okay. what I'm talking about there is there's just in every Indian community, there are these little nuggets still glowing, these little coal nuggets. And we're trying to scrape them together, get them to warm each other up, put some kindling on that, eventually some wood and some boards, and build a bonfire. So the language coals might be the goal. So the purpose of language is to communicate, ceremony, to learn our history, our worldview, our identity and self-esteem. The intellectual right to speak or not to speak, we have a right to speak Tolowa. Then the government and the modern society is convinced us that, it's just a trash language, why bother? To settle an alphabet or art issues pushes the language coals together. Okay, so to settle this because Europe are having, for example. I mean, they have anyway. All right, so I just wanted to encourage you to just try to jump straight to the alphabet rather than coming up with your own, invention of what you think it sounds like. Because then what you're doing is you're taking the sound you're hearing, you're creating your own home version of it, and then you're going to eventually go to the actual written form of it, and you've kind of made a step in there for just kind of wasting your energy and time, because those sounds are already represented, they've been studied, the phonemes have been studied and put on paper for us to use.
Shushanina Metlashne.